Dear friends, sisters, brothers from different parts of the world, welcome, welcome. This is the first meeting of the Community Sexuality, Values, and Global Concerns of 2024. And in the name of the executive committee, I would like to salute everyone. Welcome everyone to this very special meeting that we are having today, as we will be featuring a very dear friend and also a former chair of this committee. She has served in her leadership, advancing the work of the Committee on Spirituality at the United Nations for so many years, and still she is serving in so many directions for the same purpose. She is always an inspiration, and I wanted to, with no further ado, pass on this moment to Audrey Kitagawa, who I would like to salute with a round of applause from all of us. Audrey, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your wisdom with us in the beginning of so special year, and actually also a challenging time for the entire world, for the work of the United Nations as a whole, and also we are very thankful because you would give us your spiritual guidance too, in terms of how we can advance and how we can actually move on with this important banner, not only inside the work of the United Nations, but in all that we do and in all that we represent. I would actually invite everyone that is connecting today to say at least your name and the place in the world you're connecting, so we can have the records of how many representations we are having in such a meeting today. So far, we have 83 people connected in this call. So I wanted to pass on now, give the floor to our dear Audrey Kitagawa, who will be leading this conversation from today's meeting. Audrey, thank you so much. We don't need to say we all love you, right? But we said it anyway. Welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Danilo. And it is wonderful to see the beautiful faces of friends and colleagues of many years with the United Nations and the UN NGO community. And it's just beautiful to see all of you. And aloha nui loa, everyone, from Honolulu, Hawaii, where it is now just a little after 8 a.m. And I really would like to express my deepest appreciation to Diane Williams. Hi, Diane, who helped found this Committee on Spirituality, Values, and Global Concerns of New York, for this invitation to share with you today. And this month marks the 20th anniversary of this committee's acceptance as a Congo Committee member. And as Danilo had shared, I was very privileged to be chair of this committee. So it is like a homecoming for me as well. And it is fitting to honor this historic event with a Hawaiian blessing, which signifies the commencement of an auspicious occasion. And this blessing speaks to the new dawn of the light of knowledge, understanding, and intelligence. It contains a declaration that the path of wisdom, humility, integrity, honesty, and respect with love, and that all power, knowledge, and wisdom flow from the great source of life itself. May we receive this day the blessing for today's program from Hawaii, and may all that we share here today enlighten our hearts, minds, and spirits to be in remembrance and gratitude to the divine creator of all there is. May we please play this blessing.
Ginui galanie, ginio ke aqua, mano ke aqua, Kia koe luna, kia koe lalo, kia koe iuga, kia koe kai. Mai nā kukulu o ka hiki a hiki Hawaii inui a kia, Hawaii inui kua uli, Hawaii ka hiki no ka la, pi I mai I hae hae. O mala ela e kalania I ke ao he ao o ka malama, ho mai kalamo ka ike ka mau popo ke a ka mai. O mai ka ika hele ana, ka noho ana, ka hana ana, o maluhia ke ola ana, ka imi ana, ka nawe ana I ke ola pono. I pono mauna kule ana pau. Mai na wele launa kua lono na kua hiwi na kua mauna. Mai kaulana ka lai le hua hoi I papahana o moku akea. He kai akea nalu nui akea, moana nui akea, wa ikea hoi ke ala nui o ka ini ka nuu e kulia mauai. O hali aku nei leo I ka makani nui, ka makani ki, ka makani hea au mākua nā kia I o ka pō me ke ao. No kana au wao, kana au haa, kana au pono, kana au mae, kana au aloha ke aloho nā kupuna. No luna pau mai ka mana nui e aloha ku, e aloha mai, e aloha nui hoi e ola hoi nā mea pau. Lele I mauli ola, lele wale aku
Beautiful blessing from Hawaii to all of you. From its formation, CSVGC New York has sought to integrate spirituality and values into all areas of the United Nations agenda and of public policy. It supports spiritual principles, global ethics, and universal values such as respect, justice, peace, dignity, freedom, responsibility, and cooperation that underlie the work of the United Nations as reflected in its charter, as well as a Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I would like to share today about the importance of spirituality and values in daily life and in global affairs. Spirituality and core values provide important guiding principles for every person in the conduct of our daily lives. And many of those who have been drawn to this committee come out of some faith tradition and fully understand the importance of taking responsibility for the development of our spiritual lives. And I wanted to share about an interfaith gathering this past week, which I participated in as a member of the Interfaith Ohana of Hawaii. And the Hawaiian word Ohana means family in English. And while there, I met a lovely Brahma Kumari sister named Deborah, who asked me to pick a card from splayed cards she held in both hands. And what was written on the other side of the card could not be seen. And I picked the following card: love. Love is a foundation of life. You share the purest love with everyone through your pure heart. Such true love does not demand, but liberates. Indeed, we each have responsibility to develop our inner spiritual lives as we undertake supporting the work of the UN and seek to fulfill the mission of this committee. My spiritual mother told me, God is love. So we embrace this as a foundational essence that develops the heart of compassion, kindness, and caring for others. And we support the work of the UN, from which the deeply spiritual preamble and Universal Declaration of Human Rights were created. There is a great need to be in alignment with our spiritual values and principles and be able to live it every day through assiduous practice. And what we focus upon, what we value, and what our priorities in life are ultimately become a statement of who we are because of the cumulative choices that we have made on how we conduct ourselves in daily life. In the evolution of the UN itself has come a long ways in opening its doors and engaging with faith-based organizations as vital partners in its work. And Ban Ki-moon said in 2009, As a secular organization, the UN has no common religion, but like all the major faiths, we too work on behalf of the disadvantaged and the vulnerable. I have long believed that when governments and civil society work toward a common goal, transformational change is possible. Faiths and religions are a central part of that equation. With over 84% of the world's population adhering to some faith, belief, or practice, the UN sees the benefit of working with this important stakeholder in helping to implement and design programs, have consultative status on policy, and undertake advocacy and raise awareness about important local and global issues with constituencies on the ground. So, shaped by dramatic shifts in geopolitical realities, faith groups have sought to insert their voices into public debates. Freedom of religion or belief is guaranteed by Article 18 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 18 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and the Declaration of the Elimination of all forms of intolerance and of discrimination based on religion and belief. Today, there is a UN Multi-Faith Advisory Council created by the UN Interagency Task Force on Religion and Development. Its purpose is to provide policy guidance around engagement with faith-based actors, deepen the UN system staff's understanding of the intersections of religion and the UN pillars of development, human rights, and peace and security, as well as provide strategic policy guidance. So the Multi-Faith Advisory Council has identified 6 thematic areas of engagement, which are in line with the strategic priorities set by the UN and its faith-based partners for the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and Sustaining Peace Agenda. And they are 1, environment, including forests, climate change, and resource efficiency. 2, migration and displacement, including children, trafficking, and education. 3, gender justice. 4, financing for development. 5, peacemaking and security, including food security, peace building and reconciliation, and humanitarian engagement. 6, health, including responses to the COVID-19 pandemic. So you can see that the work of this committee definitely involves the importance of having the common values that help us to work cooperatively together. And this committee is designed on the cooperative model of engagement. And this is what makes this committee so necessary, important, and vital in supporting the work that we all do and the United Nations. In an interview of Rudimar Bueno de Faria on the role of the UN Multi-Faith Advisory Council, he said, religious communities and religious leaders have a strong track record of raising their voices in contexts where economic justice, extreme poverty, and widespread inequality are the norm. They have also been instrumental in denouncing the misuse of political power, racism, violence, and religious hate speech that lead to atrocity crimes. Religion is important not only at a personal and household level, but can also have an influence on the society and societal and political values that communities rely on. So the nexus between religion and development has been part of the secular religious debate, but often religion has been ignored and sidelined in international development theories and strategies. The UN and many governments are increasingly recognizing, however, the important contribution of religious leaders and their communities of faith and organizations in political processes, such as the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We also have the United Nations Environmental Program's Faith for Earth program and the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative. Last year, I participated in the first ever Faith Pavilion at COP28 in Dubai, hosted by the Muslim Council of Elders in collaboration with the COP28 presidency, the United Nations Environment Program, and over 50 other faith organizations. I'm sure many of you who are in this committee also attended the Faith Pavilion, which brought together religious and other civil society representatives, indigenous peoples, scientists, youth, and political leaders. Faith-based leaders engage with key stakeholders, including political delegations, decision makers, negotiators, and business leaders. As part of the agenda, a comprehensive Faith for Climate plan of action was created. And the first call of action is transformation rooted in shared and underlying values, which aligns with the goals and mission of CSVGC. It includes the following language. Our commitment to the well-being of the planet is fundamentally an ethical pact, and we affirm that actions and activities rooted in shared values of compassion, love, modesty, interconnectedness, and justice are vital to genuine, enduring change. Now, these are powerful words that over 20 years ago, you would not have heard within the work of the United Nations. But now as you read UN Security Council General resolutions coming to pass, words like spirituality and love are deeply embedded in that language. So over time, the work of this committee and the many faith-based organizations are having influence on the work of the United Nations. So this call to action recognizes the power of shared values as an agent for transformation. And the Faith Pavilion at COP28 acknowledges spirituality as a vital component to solving our climate issues. But actually, it is a vital component to solving all of our issues. So the spiritual perspective provides the moral imperative needed to inspire and activate the personal and governmental transformations that need to occur to reverse the degradation of our environment, the degradation of civil discourse, the degradation of our communication with each other, participation with each other, and relationship with each other in civil society. So this committee really has a unique and important role as a powerful spiritual actor addressing global issues, and reinforcing spirituality and values in the United Nations system is necessary and appropriate as a foundational premises of treaties, conventions, declarations, and regulatory functions come from an inherent recognition of the sanctity of life and relates to the spiritual dimension. We have a responsibility to reinforce our leaders and societies to adhere to the faith-based principles laid out in our humanitarian frameworks and laws. And we must reinforce the values that will lead us to human dignity, respect for the sanctity of life, and the preservation of our planet. Importantly, faith-based organizations, spiritual values are driving committees such as this one, can really help to awaken, inspire, and maximize the actualization of values that are inherent in our humanitarian frameworks and in each and every one of us. I've been asked to conclude my talk with a meditation in which we can all participate. However, due to time constraints, I will ask that we all come into the silence for 1 minute, where we can offer to the divine source of all there is our own prayer, blessing to the UN and all of the many stakeholders who engage in this work, and to each and every one who is on this call today. In the stillness is the power of God, where we become aware of the divine presence within the sacred chambers of our own hearts. I first invoke this prayer, which is said at the opening of each of the meditation sessions within my spiritual communities. And it goes as follows. Thou art the Father, thou art the Mother, thou art friend and companion, thou art knowledge and wealth, thou art all in all. Lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from ignorance to light. Lead us from death to immortality, and manifest through and through, and protect us with thy sweet, benign presence. Om, peace, peace, peace. Now let us all sit together in the resonant vibration of our loving hearts all joining together and sitting in the silence together for 1 minute. We offer our meditations, blessings, and prayers to you, O Lord, the giver of life and all good and perfect gifts. We thank you for this precious time together today, and we ask that you shine your light upon all those who are gathered here, that we may be instruments in your divine hand of love. May your hand ever guide and protect us to unfold your will of love, peace, harmony, and joy in every moment that we are privileged to dance upon this sacred earth. Thank you so much, everyone, for this privilege to be with you and share with all of you today. And aloha nui loa. It's beautiful to see all of my loving friends and colleagues of many years standing. Aloha.
Aloha. Let's hear it, Audrey. Thank you so much, Audrey, for this wonderful, inspiring, and highly spiritual presentation. Thank you for, being so thorough in terms of not just bringing your personal wisdom and your experience, which is very welcome and very appreciated, but also for connecting us to the ultimate and recent activities that are related with the topic that is so dear to all of us in the work of the Committee on Spirituality, Values, and Global Concerns in the context of the United Nations. And thank you for reminding us of such a great milestone that we are actually celebrating this year, which will be the 20th anniversary of the acceptance of this committee within the Congo, which was a very important step to also advancing the spiritual agenda of the United Nations by opening space for all, especially NGOs accredited with the United Nations, to somehow get together and strengthening collective efforts to make this topic a priority into the United Nations agenda. Well, everyone, Audrey accepted to remain with us for a few more minutes in terms of responding audience participations. So if you have any comments, if you have any questions, it is like such a great opportunity to have her here with us. We can open the microphone for a few minutes of this public interaction. Audrey, I would start, if you allow me. I wanted to ask you something because, as you might know well, since you are such a experienced advocate of this topic within the United Nations, how could you please tell us what would be good strategies to overcome something that we sometimes notice, not from everybody, of course, but for some, in terms of losing the secularism or the neutrality of the United Nations by opening the participation of faith-based or peace-centered organizations into the broader discussion of the international agenda. We know the UN needs to be and represents the plurality of all the human culture, but at the same time, this diversity needs to embrace also not just the secularity, but also the diversity of all the values, all the beliefs that you so well presented in your speech. what would be strategies to advance this agenda in a way that we see the international agenda giving more priority to spirituality at large?
Well, I think that as we can see over time, it's like a little drop of water falling on a rock. And year after year after year, you're going to create an impression in the rock. And of course, when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, this is how the Grand Canyon was created. By the trickles and the eons of water flowing through these powerful rock formations that actually do eventually create impressions that are totally magnificent to behold. And of course, this is the work of this committee. This is the work of faith-based organizations. It is that consciousness of love that is the unifying field, actually, that we all are immersed in and at all times are in. And we must move from that power of the heart to be able to work in the international arena. Yes, the United Nations is a secular organization, and it is a very powerful political organization because you have 193 countries. So necessarily, they have to advocate and put forth the interests of their countries. So I will relate it on a personal level to when I did litigation in my prior iteration as an attorney. You have the plaintiff, you have the defendant. So you have two parties coming before a judge to resolve the conflict that exists. Okay, so in the United Nations system, we have the International Criminal Court, we have all of these tribunals of justice, et cetera, et cetera. So, but you have two parties who are in disagreement. Now, I, as an attorney representing a party, I cannot go into the court and say, now let us all convene together, sit down and pray, because that is not the forum in which you undertake that kind of action. However, in my heart, I can hold in that one consciousness with everyone, that power of love that I know resides in all of the party litigants, the judge, and everyone participating in that particular action, even as I understand that I have ethical duties and responsibilities to represent the best interests of my client. So here, when you put it in the global scale of the United Nations with 193 potential, party litigants on any particular political issue that is unfolding in the world, it is important for all of the members of each country, civil society, you and myself, everyone involved, to first work on our own consciousness and the elevation of our consciousness to rise to the higher levels, arising out of the power of that love, and articulate and concretize that action through, for example, committees like this, the religious NGOs, the caucus on values, the Values Caucus that was started many years ago. So the articulation of the proper language that speak to values, the common good, the ethics, all become part of the great confluence of the evolutionary flow of human consciousness to raise the levels of our ability to be able to have the concretization of the language and the actions in the world. So while it may seem that we are a little drop and a big rock, we can see over time, and we may never live to see the fruits of our actions. But you never know what fruits your good work, your good heart, your good intentions will bear in the totality of the scheme of the long march of life to create a magnificent, beautiful, wonderful Grand Canyon. Okay, so over the eons, you may not live to see it in this lifetime, but surely you must know that your footprint that you leave behind, that becomes the legacy of your work and the contribution of your one heart towards the totality of humanity, is vitally important.
That was a wonderful consideration. Thank you so much, Audrey. If anyone else would like to raise your hand and also ask one final question before we... Oh, yes, Diane, I was expecting you to to please address this big audience. We are today having nearly 80 people connected from different parts of the world. Diane, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Danilo, and thank you so much, my dear friend Audrey, for being here with all of us. We all love you so much. And thank you for your beautiful remarks, and thank you for the Executive Council for also proposing you, Nina and Danilo and everybody, to have you here today. So climate change is definitely one of the most troubling global concerns we are confronted with today. And you mentioned the success of the Faith Pavilion at COP28. So I'm just thinking ahead to COP29 and just wondering if you have any suggestions on how our committee might be able to be useful to COP29. Maybe we can have a delegation that might go there. Maybe we can be part of the Faith Pavilion. Maybe there's some other ways that we can be engaged. I would love to get your thoughts on that.
Well, exactly as you just shared, Diane, it would be good to have representation in COP28. So I'm sure there are members of this committee who have UN pass and who may be associated with UNEP and have ECOSOC consultative status. And so, do put yourselves in as a committee representative to be able to hold an event and to be represented at COP28, because ultimately your voice counts. And the UN now is, as well as governments, are now paying very close attention to the participation of spiritual, values-based, as well as faith-based communities all around the world, because they do understand that with 84% of the world's population as believers, this is a very powerful stakeholder that can ultimately have a very persuasive and influential impact on policy considerations. So for COP29, let's have this committee be fully represented there.
Thank you, dear Audrey.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Audrey. And actually, COP30 is already announced to be in Brazil.
Oh, wow.
So it's definitely a good opportunity ahead of us to be somewhat involved in advancing our work in this major topic of the United Nations, and one of the most important and strategic fields of action that we need to work together to secure our collective survival. This is a very important topic. Thank you so much.
And I just wanted to share very quickly, Danilo, that G20, the G20 summit this year is being hosted by Brazil. So kudos to Brazil for the important work that it is doing in participating in these important international convenings. So thank you so much, everyone.
My dear Audrey, and in the name of everybody here, I think we loved very much, this opportunity that you graciously is offering to us in the beginning of this 2024 agenda of the CSVGC. We want to extend our warmest gratitude for you dedicating your time to preparing and being with us in today's meeting. So I appreciate very much everything that you did and do, and we are very welcome in terms of expanding any partnerships or work together in this point on for the work that we have planned for the activities of the CSVGC during the course of this year. Well, again, let's hear it for Audrey Kitagawa, our special guest today.
Thank you so much, everyone, and aloha.
Aloha. Thank you very much.